Hi, my name's Hudson, and I'm a geoholic.
Breathe with me.
I feel like I'm back in high school.
Welcome, everyone, to the Geoholics Raver. This is episode 47, also known as the Jack Morris episode. Did you have that one, Shoots?
He was with the Twins, right?
Well, Tigers.
Okay.
Yeah.
I 47, I immediately go to Tom Glavine.
He was there for consideration.
2007, the Mets had their epic meltdown. Last game of the year to salvage and make it to the playoffs. He goes out for like a third of an inning, gives up 7 runs, and then afterwards, he's like, it's not the worst thing that could have happened. I'm still upset about that. Is absolutely the worst thing that could have happened.
Oh, my goodness. Shoot, the things that upset you. Anyways, Jack Morris, absolute stud, 5-time All-Star, 4-time World Series champion, pitched a no-hitter. April 7th, 1984, Detroit Tigers number 47 retired, and, of course, inducted into the MLB Hall of Fame in 2018. Join the Geoholics fan club, make a $25 contribution to the Geoholics GoFundMe account, and receive a one-of-a-kind fan pack that now includes an OG t-shirt, wristband, sticker, koozie, and temporary tattoo courtesy of Tim Keenan at DBLS. Need to give a shout-out to Buffalo Bob Wasilowski for his ongoing support of the Geoholics. Made a nice contribution to the GoFundMe account this past week. So
Came
thank
through,
you.
huh?
Thank you, Bob. That opening number, of course, is The Prodigy. The name of the song is Breathe. The Prodigy first emerged in the underground rave scene in the early 1990s, which is why Schutz was talking about high school, and achieved popularity and worldwide recognition with UK number 1 singles such as Firestarter and Breathe. They have been called the Godfathers of Rave and remain one of the most successful electronic acts of all time, having sold an estimated 25 million records worldwide. Our guest today is a big fan of The Prodigy, which is why we selected that song. Shout out to our friends of the program. First and foremost, let's recognize Bad Elf GPS. Their website is bad-elf.com. They are successfully developing high-accuracy GPS receivers for all-day data collection. If you mention that you heard about the Flex receiver on the Geoholics, you'll receive $100 off your purchase and a really freaking cool fitted Bad Elf hat. And I do want to mention, if you're not already, follow Nick Smilovsky on LinkedIn. He's doing this really cool thing right now. He and his wife are on like a 3-week vacation, and every day he's doing a little video and showing where he is for that day, collecting some data with the Flex receiver. So it's pretty neat. So check out Nick on LinkedIn.
He's flexing across America.
Yeah.
The next up would be Land Surveyors United, old Justin Jaybird Farrow. Largest global community of geomatics professionals on the internet with, are they at 17,000? I know every week.
They're over now.
We're over that.
Yeah.
LandSurveyorsUnited.com. Go check it out. There's a Geoholics page on there as well. So like, friend, all that good stuff with them. LandSurveyorsUnited.com.
Yep, and of course you can get the app there as well. LiDAR News, the virtual home of the LiDAR industry. They strive to provide their readers and sponsors with the most current information about 3D laser scanning, LiDAR, unmanned aerial systems, and photogrammetry. The LiDAR News team focuses on the application of technology to solve 3D problems. Check them out at LiDARnews.com.
And good old Parkland College, their land survey program in Champaign, Illinois. They have 2 schedule options, which provide opportunities to both traditional and working adults to achieve a certificate or associate's degree in land surveying. You can find them at parkland.edu/surveying. Do you think they're going to have a football season?
I don't know. Today's a big day, is my understanding, as far as the vote goes on that. Unifly, UNIFLI, Scott Ohana and his team have developed a one-stop UAV shop. Check them out at unifli.aero, and make sure you go to the How We Work link to find out more.
And we cannot forget Mr. Diamondback Land Surveying, Trent Keenan. He sent the tattoos. We're gonna mail those out, and I like how you use the OG on everything. But Diamondback Land Surveying, is specializing in residential, commercial, and public works projects. Corporate office is in Las Vegas, but they are licensed to work across the West. Also, they are proud sponsors and brand ambassadors of Get Kids Into Survey with the Ball, Elaine, and Ellie. DiamondbackLandSurveying.com for more information, and GetKidsIntoSurvey.com.
And Trent and I have an ongoing bet. He's a big Vegas Golden Knights fan. Of course, I'm a big Chicago Blackhawks fan. They are meeting in the playoffs, and we have a wager in every game, so I'm pretty excited about that.
And as soon as the Hawks lose and the Knights are playing the Coyotes, Jake and I will get in on it.
That would be amazing. All right. Advanced Geodetic Surveys, Inc., AGS, is a surveying and mapping equipment dealer that has been surveying the industry since 1991. They offer competitive rental rates from one of the largest rental fleets. They also offer equipment sales and service, as well as an extensive catalog of field supplies, safety equipment, and accessories. Can confirm I have used them many times and have never, ever been disappointed. If you go to agsgps.com/shop and use the promo code GEO15, you will save 15% off all regular priced field supplies, accessories, and safety equipment.
We got some big news. New sponsors, boys.
Yep.
Tiger Supplies. You heard Mad Mike Maglione. That one's a rough one for me. They're surveying, construction, and engineering superstore. You heard his minute. If you don't mind, go check out their website. Use the code GEO15. You'll get 15% off any Adair Pro?
Yep.
Is that I'm unfamiliar. Item including tripods, bipods, prisms, prism poles, flagging tape, survey markers, and much more. Do not forget to check out their YouTube page for product videos, tips, and tricks.
Yep. Thanks to those guys for jumping on board. And another new friend of the program, Cyanic Automation. It's interesting. I talked to these guys a few weeks ago, and they're doing some really cool stuff for survey companies up in Canada, basically developing new ways to collect daily work records and timesheets from in the field, automate invoicing, search jobs by legal addresses, stuff like that. Check out JobBook by going to their website, getjobbook.com. They are solving operational problems to make your business life easier. Everybody needs that. If there's something you want to vent about, maybe give these guys a call and see if they can help you out. Again, their website, getjobbook.com. Hopefully we can get them on the show sometime and they can talk about best practices on the business side of things. I know it's not always the fun part of surveying to talk about, but it's probably the most important. Also, tell them you heard about it from Geoholics and they'll give you 20% off the first year subscription to Get Job Book. Oh my goodness, that was a mouthful. It's exciting to get all these friends of the program on board, that's for sure. Here we are, Beat Lab Studio, PJ's living room, early in the morning here. Our guest is in Spain today, so bright and early here. So if we sound a little bit off, our apologies. The only thing we need is some strobe lights in here, I guess, to go along with the Prodigy, right?
That would be appropriate.
Let's catch up with the boys. Producer Jake, what's new, man?
Not a lot. So we're doing some different stuff with the podcast, introducing a video element to it. So you can check that out on our YouTube channel. I'm sure we're going to have the links in the descriptions and talk about that a little bit more. But we're introducing kind of something different, year 2, spice it up with not just the audio, but you can get us Apple Podcasts, Spotify, all that. And then now on YouTube too. So looking forward to that. On a fun side, been watching a lot of the Coyotes. I know Ryan touched on that a little bit too. That's been super fun. Really excited to see these guys. Right now, they're at the farthest spot than they've been at since 2012 or something, like 8 years. Mm-hmm. So it's nice that it's crazy because all of the stuff that we've missed, like all of the basketball and hockey, usually there's like 2 or 3 games a day, but now they're putting like 8, 9 games a day. So it's from like 9 a.m. to, so it's like, it's nice, especially like if you have it on the background, like when you're working from home or something too. Mm-hmm. It's nice because it just fills up your entire day. So glad to have that stuff back for sure. Definitely a step towards back to being normal.
And can't forget the Suns. What are they, 6-0 in the bubble?
It's for 5-0 or 6-0 as of yesterday when they beat OKC. So I hope that Coyotes take ages well by the time this comes out on Sunday. But anyway, Ryan, how are you?
I cannot complain. It's another whirlwind of fun. Old Dilfy Dilf over here came out with coming down strong on the weekend. Let's bet on golf.
Oh, I forgot about that.
And, I let everybody else make their picks, and then I did mine at the last second limp and didn't really want to do it. But and then I was not following it. I was just watching all the texts that you guys had. And then when I realized I won, then I was all of a sudden in on it. So I can confirm I did not care. I did not want to care. But once I won, that was all I cared about in my life.
That was a quick $60.
Yeah, easy enough. I should do this more often. I was telling Carrie, I was like, man, in fantasy football last year, I won that one doing this. I'm like, I should just become a professional sports gambler.
I think it's all because you saved that bird.
Wow. I didn't even think about that.
No, neither did I. Now that you say that. Whew.
Your life has changed as a result.
Man, oh man, it's on the upswing here, boys. So, I'm gonna keep that. I'm gonna go home and like slam a bird into the trap and then let it go again.
That might go reverse at that point.
But I'll let it go again, so it counterbalances.
It's gotta happen organically.
It did, and I am happy to take everybody's money. But what about you, Kent?
Well, since you didn't mention it, I'm going to call myself out. Last Wednesday, Shoots and I drove up to Prescott Valley to play golf with Arky. Had a great time. Shoots beat me by 3 strokes, I believe. He actually drove the green on a par 4. I couldn't get him to do the Dilfy Dill strut, but
I don't have that one in me.
It was impressive nonetheless. But what he has failed to not call me out on is the fact that we're driving up there and we have to stop to drop some stuff off on the way, right? So I turn the car off. We do take care of business, we'll say. Go to start the car again, and the car doesn't start, right? We're about probably 30 minutes from my house. And the car doesn't start. I'm like, what the hell? Well, long story short, I must have, it's one of those, key fob starting vehicles. You don't have to put the key in, one of those deals. So I think what I did, I still haven't figured it out because I haven't found it.
You still haven't found the key?
No. So I think what I did is Shoots was running late that morning. I was
usual
in my car with the AC on, cooling it down for him so he doesn't complain about being hot and all that stuff. And I think what I did is I put my key on the roof because I had to run back in real quick to get some golf balls or something. And I forgot to grab it. So we took off, and the car was running at the time. And then once we stopped and I went to restart the car, of course it wouldn't start because the key's nowhere to be found. We're looking all over the place, can't find it, blah, blah, blah. Had to call the lovely Megan. She drove up with the spare key.
How far was this?
She was not happy.
About
Let's
30
put it
minutes.
That way.
Okay. So you guys are like on the 17?
17 and Carefree. Carefree Highway.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So not like Sedona or like,
well,
or I
no.
guess you wouldn't even go that far.
No, but it's not like we were in Prescott when it
Yeah.
happened, So she's like, of course she wasn't happy about it. But I'm like, look at the bright side. Just like I just said, at least we weren't in Prescott when we noticed this,
And that's when she said, you would have just called AAA.
Yeah. And those keys aren't inexpensive either. It's
I've already looked into it, $300.
Yeah.
So it's been a rough week for keys in the Grow household.
Overall, it was a good trip.
Though. Oh, it was a great trip. Yeah, it was awesome. Had a great time. So anyways, that's my, one other thing. Freaking buy Amazon. Holy crap. That stock, of course, is going insane. It has been for quite some time. It's up 35% since I first bought into it. And now they've got Prime Gaming. I saw that they're purchasing like abandoned JCPenney and Sears stores and turning them into distribution centers.
Makes sense.
Amazon's unstoppable. So
Well, Bezos sold like $3 billion worth of stock or something.
Did he really?
I think
That's nothing though.
I think he's just selling that
a
so he can buy
0.25%.
the Mets.
That's my stock tip for the week. How's that?
Amazon's always a safe bet.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, you're really breaking the mold here.
I know.
Buy gold.
Buy gold. Hey, we'll talk about that next week. All right, the Safety Apparel Safety Share. Matthew Stansberry has developed the best safety vest on the planet. That is no joke. Also known as the Party Chief, not the Crew Chief, but the Party Chief. Let's get it right. Check them out at safetyapparel.us. You can purchase them there, and trust me when I tell you that they truly are the best vests I have ever used. The topic of this safety share is the top 5 safety considerations for land surveyors. I know we touch on, individual safety things here and there, but this is kind of a summary of the 5 main ones. The first one is distracted motorists, of course, distracted drivers, now more than ever are causing traffic collisions, and this can be dangerous for surveyors, standing nearby, whether they're in the road and even off the road. I've seen many instances where an accident happens in an intersection, a car goes flying, hits an instrument, could be a fatal situation there. So situational awareness, of course, snakes and insects, I should say, to help prevent against bites and stings. Workers should wear snake-proof boots or snake guards and clothing that covers as much bare skin as possible. Also, be sure to have a first aid kit in your vehicle as well, in your survey rig. And what else? Construction hazards, of course. It's the worker's duty to wear appropriate safety gear, such as hard hats, work boots, high visibility vests, and additional gear that is required, such as eye and hearing protection. Heat exhaustion. Here in Arizona, it's been 115 for about 30 days straight, I think. Been brutal. To protect against the sun's effects, surveyors should wear hats, heat reflective clothing, apply sunscreen, and drink plenty of water. And finally, working in remote locations. This is something the surveyors do all the time. Surveyors, they're carrying out surveys in, remote barren locations. They have to ensure all equipment is tested before that journey begins, packing a spare tire, first aid kit, as I mentioned. Make sure you have plenty of food and water. GPS systems and phones will come in handy in emergency situations, and your vehicles should also be thoroughly tested before embarking on such a journey. So those are kind of the 5 most popular safety concerns for surveyors.
I don't want to say this and be rude, but that seems like common sense on a lot of that stuff.
Well, a lot of it is, but then again, think about it. That's when you start taking things for granted,
Exactly.
Yeah. So again, situational awareness is the key. All right. Our guest today is, this is a special one. He is in Spain, as I mentioned earlier. Our first Spaniard, right? Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Mm-hmm. His name is Pedro Ortiz, and just a quick bio of Pedro. He was born in the city of, is it Malaga, I guess, and grew up in nearby city of Marbella. And these are both in the southern part of Spain by the Mediterranean Sea. I want to go there so bad. I hear it's absolutely beautiful. He attended a University of, I'm going to butcher this, Jan, where he earned a bachelor degree in surveying engineering and a master degree in cadastre valuation and real estate valuation. In his free time, he enjoys watching movies and TV series. He's a big basketball fan. I know basketball is pretty popular in Spain, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yep. NBA and the FIBA championships, and a compulsive music listener. And
including the Prodigy.
Yep. He's a raver. Has been serving for nearly 24 years and is currently a land and property surveyor leading a survey consulting company with his brother and uncle, who are surveyors as well. And item to note, his father, who is now retired, is also a surveyor. So Pedro, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
You bet. Let's get into this a little bit. We got a lot to cover. So first and foremost, we got to ask this. Let's talk a little bit about COVID-19. I can't wait till this gets put behind us so we don't have to talk about it anymore. But how are you dealing with it, or how have you dealt with it, and how is Spain as a country dealing with it?
Well, before talking about the trend topic as COVID, and because you have mentioned your golf adventures, I must tell you that I live in a place surrounded by 25 golf courses within 20 miles around. Then I guess you should make a visit to me here because you can play each day in different golf course.
We're heading to Spain.
Yeah, careful what you wish for, Pedro.
I'm not a good house guest.
My house is your house. So about COVID, well, in Spain, unfortunately, we are not really facing this problem very properly. And after the lockdown from March till May, everything was becoming better. But later, everybody went out like crazy. And there are a lot of, people who say asymptomatic, that you don't realize that you have it, but then you extend it. Then actually, generally, Spain is facing major problems because it's increasing day after day. But fortunately, we have a strong health system that we don't have many dead people regarding this issue. Related to the land surveying profession, we also really don't have any kind of issues related to to this COVID, because mostly we work outdoors, and then we don't need to be in touch or too close to other people, and then, but we are of course taking into account all the health recommendations of the government, wearing a mask and sometimes gloves and so on, and of course keeping the 1.5 meters distance from the other ones. And then I guess it's not much more different than in other parts of the world, but of course our government is taking more seriously this issue than in other places in the world, but we have to look further in an optimistic way that is going to be solved soon with a vaccine or something.
How is it affecting the your workload, I guess, from a surveying perspective? Has work slowed down?
Yes, well, personally mine not, because I live in a really busy area, real estate busy area, which still is not realized about this issue. But I know other colleagues are really slowed down because construction was going down, and any other sorts of engineering or industrial application of the land surveying are going down simply because they were locked down, and then they have to again recover from this situation. But I must say that the investors who are related to the real estate are still on the wave. I mean, they are still with the aim to invest. Then I don't really feel that the issue would arrive until this industry.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Interesting. Let's kind of get a snapshot of surveying in Spain in general. So I did a bunch of research, and so it looks like the population of Spain is about 47 million. And I know there's how many different regions are there?
Yes, we have the main inland, and then two group of islands, and as well two small places in the northern side of Africa. We have the Mediterranean Sea in the middle, and we have 17 regions. But we are not a federate state like the United States. We are the whole country with regions, and I live in the southern one, which is the biggest one on surface area, not in population. And yes, the land profession is really not so big. The membership of the land professionals, we are around 4,500, more or less.
Wow.
But this is the ones who are member of the main association in Spain. Now, we guess that there are another 5,000 who are performing the profession, but they are not member of this main association.
So that's right around 5,000-ish. You're saying?
Yeah,
doesn't sound like very many.
No, but I have to say, one of the problems we have in the land profession in Spain is that perhaps we can get deeper later on, but we don't have a designation as you have in the United States or in many countries in the world. And then anyone who feels competent to do surveying is doing. Then perhaps the number of land surveyors, let's say between brackets, there are many more. The market needs many more, but there are, for instance, other sorts of engineers, architects, and then people without any kind of diploma or any kind of education.
Oh my gosh, that's crazy. Now I'd like to keep on that topic actually, because there has been discussion in the States about deregulating land surveying, which would put us in that same situation.
Exactly.
Which to me is very, very scary for a number of reasons. I mean, I can't imagine it's an easy way to make a living as someone who would consider themselves a professional when there's other people out there providing those same services for a much lower price.
Exactly. That's the point. That's the problem. And then, even though the also problem is that people who are land surveyors, but they work in the public administration, they are public servants, they also work out of the time where they are not compatible to do this kind of work. And then this is also an unfair situation amongst the profession. Then this is also another problem to all this issue.
So you, as somebody who I'm sure consider yourself a professional, how do you separate yourself from those who are, for lack of better terms, just providing survey services out of their house or whatever? How do you separate yourself?
Over the weekend warriors.
Yeah.
Yes, yes. And the weekend, taking the brother-in-law as the assistant and such kind of, and using the instruments from the company, and perhaps not paying the taxes according to their job and so on. Well, it's difficult the market is very wise, as you know, and then mostly they realize who is a professional and who is not. And nowadays, with this crisis, not only COVID, also because of after the economic crisis the last decade, then the people are realizing about this. But you always have to beat or to fight against lower prices down, very low quality, and then we are all in the same sack. We are all in the same basket, and then that's the problem. And that's why we try to fight against this as an association and also as individuals.
Wow. Yeah, that's quite a challenge. How do you, let's see, what's the future demand like for surveyors? I mean, there's obviously not enough of them, and there's obviously a skills gap. I mean, how are you guys addressing that? How are you promoting surveying?
Okay. I mean, first of all, I have to say that I'm not representing an association as it is. I mean, I could represent a small association of professionals, as I said before, the GEX, and we are not representing the profession to defend the profession. For this is another type of association. Said that, I must say that the way to really get out of this group of unprofessionals, if I would say this way, is to raise the standard applications and to perform different tasks, and also the typical duties from the land professional, a land surveyor in Spain, used to be, or it is still, construction. And that's why in the university we are trained to get all the knowledge for this sort of application of the profession. Not for the cadastral surveying, for instance. We don't have legal or such kind of juridical training. That's why we have developed a master degree focused on this issue. But the land surveying university is changing with the time. And then, for example, from the GIS and the geomatics point of view, is raising the level of the training. And then a lot of young professionals can diverse the scope of the duties on the profession. And then this, for example, I think that is a good opportunity that the geomatics profession and the land profession is not collapsing, because we have a lot of work to do. In Spain is a big country and has a lot of environment to look after, and we have a lot of sea around, and a lot of that we need to do. And also something that at the moment is a disadvantage, but I see it like an advantage. We don't have a measured cadastral system.
Wow.
Then is everything that should be measured and it should be surveyed in Spain in order to get consistency on the real estate boundaries. Then I see a nice future, but the problem is that the youngsters are not really keen to join this profession. The university are not really full of people, and this is because I guess they are not really marketing properly the profession. And then, I mean, I guess I'm telling you what you're really suffering in the United States as well, I think.
Yeah, no doubt. It seems like everybody we talk to, no matter what part of the world they're in, they're all experiencing the exact same challenges.
Exactly.
Yeah. So a little bit more about like the type of work that you do. I mean, what are the industries that kind of keep you busy on the survey side? I know there's like manufacturing and agriculture, energy and electricity. What keeps you busy?
Okay, all these industries you have said now, I think they are not very popular amongst the land profession. Agriculture, maybe now with the drone impact, that you can, with the drones, you can not only take pictures, you can also take such a kind of heat maps and so on. Okay, but for example, these utilities and this kind of industry, we are really not so deep inside. That's why the other engineers who are like industrial engineers, such kind of civil engineers, they are more on this, and then they hire punctually our services. That's why our main industry nowadays is these three: construction, GIS, and cadastre. These are the three main industry that land survey profession is.
Gotcha. So let's talk about cadastre. I think that's a really interesting topic. First of all, I do want to learn a little bit more about Spain and how it maybe compares to, the rest of the European cadastres. Talk a little bit about that.
Okay, Spain, although is a peninsula, I would consider it like an island in Europe because it's really isolated from the cadastral surveying point of view. We have what we call a fiscal cadastral system, which is the maps in the cadastre where you can access freely and through the internet. It's very good. It's a very good website where you can download maps and information. But the lack of the data is really poor. The boundaries are not legal boundaries. They are not measured or determined by land surveyors. They are determined by orthophotographies or old maps or simply the wishes of the landowners, where in a sketch they can draw the boundaries, because the purpose is to determine the value, to determine the tax. And the surface, the area, is not important because you can have, for example, the same amount of surface in a land, in a plot, but for instance, it's a rectangle, it's a triangle, or it's a circle, and it's really different boundaries, but they have the same surface. Then the value and the tax is the same. Then the problem is that this causes major problems of boundary issues in the courts. It's not very transparent, the court cases about this topic, but we have guessed that more than 300 million euros a year are the costs of all the damages caused by the boundary issues in Spain. There are also major problems, personal and people are killing each other because of the boundary and so on.
Wow.
The problem is that this is not, of course, every day happening, but it's happening very often. That you can check the news on the internet, then you can find that somebody was hitting the neighbor, somebody was hitting the neighbor, somebody was killing the neighbor because of a piece of land.
Wow.
This is something crazy. We have a very strong legal system because notaries, which are different than in the United States, for instance, the notaries give faith, also they give legal security. Then we have also the land registry, which is like the place you can register the legal documents, and everything together is very strong. You can rely on the title ownership, but the main thing, which is where are the limits of these legal rights, is not clear. That's why 5 years ago there was a new law which determines that every time you want to subdivide a piece of land, you need to make a georeference survey. Then this is a little step forward the solution, but the problem is that this really not focus on the technical and the legal aspects, and the most crazy thing, they don't determine which professional should be the one who has to do this duty. And then it's open that anyone can do it. And then that's why the problem of the designation in Spain is really a big problem, because of yourself, you come to Spain and you survey, but you know how to survey, then it's no problem. But don't know, your brother-in-law or your son or your neighbor can come, can take the GPS and can survey and can give it to the owner, and the owner register it. That's the problem.
Oh my gosh.
then this is really problematic. But that's why our approach to solve this is changing the way we used to do it, is claiming that we are the only ones who can do it, instead of claiming that we are the only one, like something that has no, we simply are trying to do it, a focus on a standard, based on a standard which is focused on the security on the client, on the public interest, and then we hope that within the time will be regulated, and then will be established our task as the only land professional who can do this kind of thing. Perhaps we need several years, but we think that this is the only way to really fulfill the needs of the public.
Yeah, taking public safety into consideration. So what is I'm curious, based on what you just said, is there a basis for like a national control network? I mean, like here in the States, of course, we have sectionalized land, and we have, a few states that are meets and bounds. And what is the basis of the datum in Spain, both vertical and horizontal?
Okay, we have since the beginning of the 20th century, we have a national network, planimetric, horizontal and vertical. And but within after the 80s, in the last century, we have already a GPS or a GNSS network as well, and then this can give us all the framework for the geodetic works, where we can rely all the land professionals, not only land surveyors, also GIS, government, and everything. We have actually more than 11,000 benchmarks for horizontal and vertical. The vertical are along the highways, the streets, and so on. But as I said, with our huge GNSS network, also RTK and post-processed, we have enough for georeference any kind of work. From 2015, 5 years ago, we have in Europe the same datum, which is the ETRS 89, which is the worldwide reference that datum, and then we don't have any problem to georeference everything. And then we don't, but what you mean is as well as in some places in Canada, because I know pretty well your system, it says, and in Canada, we don't have such kind of grids where you can reference amongst one other one. We have simply your reference network, and we survey according to this data. Also, you have to think that, as I said before, we 5 years ago behind, we don't need to make any kind of survey for registering a land. Then was enough with a sketch on a piece of paper drawn by hand by the owner. Wow. That's why the system is not evolving. It's just focusing on the national datum in order to make different layers of information that the cadastral office or the land registry or any other kind of government departments can manage all this information.
So I'm curious, people that own land in Spain, are they paying like property taxes on what they own based on the square footage, or how does that work?
Yes, the same. The point is that you declare this information.
Okay.
You voluntarily declare that you own, and for example, now, if you want to register for the first time, because we don't have a compulsory system in Spain, we don't have, like I guess you have in the States or in the most states, such a kind of terrains act, We have a voluntary land registry system. Then there are some properties, some land that is not registered. Then the first time you want to register, you need to be checked that is directly like in the cadastral map, show the boundaries. Then if it's not correct, you have to adjust or correct the boundaries in the cadastral map, and then you register it. And then from this moment, the plot, when it's born in the land registry, is already determined. Then at least this is good for the land. But on the other hand, people, landowners, are not aware that the cadastral maps are wrong because they were not properly measured by a land surveyor, and then they use it to register. And then the problem, where there wasn't a problem, now is a problem. Because you wanna raise a fence, and then your neighbor is saying, "What the hell you are raising the fence there? This is my property," and then the conflict is already busy.
Wow. The good old boundary dispute.
Yes, I mean, some people, our English colleagues, are very happy with this kind of system because they have a lot of work. They have a lot of disputes. Then, I mean, what we say in Spain, that we also could be happy with the system, but I prefer that because we would need maybe a century to measure everything, and then after that, perhaps we don't have work. But at least let's do it. It's like the German surveyors. They have everything surveyed since more than 100 years, and it's not that they don't have work to do. They have, but they have everything under control. And later I will tell you more about the European colleagues.
Germans under control. Imagine that.
the Germans are,
Well, as far as like U.S. designation, I'm going to admit this, and we do this whole podcast, and I deal with a lot of surveyors. RLS, PLS, PS, there's a lot of designations. I don't know who's what and why, but when it comes to Spain, what is your professional register designation? I know there's RICS. Explain it all if you don't mind.
No, there's no designation. When you earn your degree, you only need to be a member of the association. In this case, the name is the Land Surveying Association Spain. It's an official body. When you join this association, by law, you are able to perform surveying, and then you don't have any kind of designation. You simply do your job, and that's it. If you need to, for example, give such a kind of a special map or plan, document, report, anything, you can stamp by the association. I don't know if you have something like this in the States, but this is the only type of designation. We don't have any. And because the engineers' ruling law, determines that each engineer should, and surveying is also an engineer, each engineer should apply their own specialty by his own faith and his own liability. And that's why there is no designation. RSCS is something that is mainly in the UK, but in Spain, but in Spain, the RSCS is only focused on real estate agents and real estate valuation. They are not focused, or they are not applying the land surveying profession. This is only in the UK and some places of America, in some islands of the Caribbean Ocean, and so on. But in Spain, the IDCS is not the official designation.
It's the wild, wild west.
It is. I thought we had some challenges here. Wow. Are there any laws that govern land surveyors in Spain? I mean, is it like, let's say a surveyor goes out there and makes a mistake. Who regulates that? Is it self-regulated, or the association gets involved, or how does that whole thing work?
The only point for this is that the association, because we are an amount of people, more than 4,500 people, then we have civil insurance, such insurance that can cover our damages, but there is not any kind of protection to the public if someone mistakes. This is a private issue amongst the parties, Yep. And that's why this is, and there are some of the surveyors who are working with this with no insurance at all. And then you can imagine they are risking their own property, family, safes and anything, because if a judge determines that you were guilty of something, of a damage, you can give all your belongings. Then that's why I think that the designation would be a good approach, at least to determine who are responsible for the actions, and then to check that everyone has the proper insurance to cover the damages. For example, in our small association, not the main one, the other one, we have as a mandatory within our members a minimum of 600,000 euro cover of our insurance, which is at least what we think that is the minimum that we can offer our clients to protect them, because anyone can mistake, of course.
Wow.
Unbelievable.
That's
think
crazy.
You have a bet here?
Yeah, no doubt. It's funny though. I talked to a gentleman a couple of years ago, and in Mexico, for example, it sounds like it's a lot like it is there in Spain. They don't really have a cadastre set up, and there's no way of tracking property, accurately, and tracking people as far as that goes. So I mean, that's a big deal.
And the worst in Mexico, that the cadastral system they are starting to do for some years ago is done by Spanish people, Crazy.
Yeah.
Crazy. The Spanish cadastral is spreading the system in all Latin America, and it's crazy, because I understand that it's very good cadastral for the fiscal purposes, because you need income. The town hall, the government, they need income, okay, but try to do, like for instance, in Costa Rica. In Costa Rica, they have a cadastral system based on legal measurements, and then this is the point. They have the, let's say, as well as in Argentina, it's the same. They have the cadastral system made by only land surveyors, which are the designated professionals to do this. And then in some countries they're doing, but in the other ones, the Spanish cadastre take the airplane on our drone, you take pictures, you guess boundaries, and then you make plan, fast, quick, cheap, and then collect taxes. And then when the encroachment is done, the neighbors are fighting. I don't know anything about this.
Yeah, because some of that property's got to be really, really valuable, especially like I know there's a lot of like the wine industry in Spain, so there's a lot of vineyards and stuff like that, and that's very, very valuable property. So folks like that, they need to know where their, I guess, legal, for lack of a better term, boundary is.
Okay, and in the place where I am, there's a lot of tourism. There's a lot of real estate investments. A lot of Europeans, Germans, French, Nordic, Central European rich guys who are coming over to buy a big piece of land to make a big villa, 2, 3, 4, 5 million euros. And then when we arrive, the first thing they are given is a cadastral map when they purchase. And then they say, okay, these are my boundaries, because they think that this is the same like in their own countries. And then when they start to realizing about the problems, the investment maybe is not so good like they thought.
Yep.
And then I'm suffering this every day,
Oh my God.
And because I'm aware of this, that's why my consulting services are focused on prevention instead of litigation. I try to get in touch with the lawyers who are the first ones who are advising the investors to determine if something is really not good in the way that they have encroachments or they have boundaries issues before they buy it, because then later you will have a very nice piece of land but with no property on it. And then that's the point, that 1 square meter of land where I live can be minimum 300 or 400 euros square meter.
Wow.
Then this is not, the 1 years are, I guess, more cheap than this, but they also have issues with this, but they have a huge piece of land that they have 5 or 2% less. They're not such a big deal. But for a house or for a villa, where you are constrained by limitations, 10 square meter are critical,
Yeah, so it sounds like your approach is to educate the client or the stakeholders in these real estate transactions.
I feel like you were just lobbying
Yes.
for some Spanish wine. We'll have to give Pedro your address.
We've already got the
after we
invite.
get off, and
Yeah,
Yes,
on the
I'm
down
welcoming
low.
you here. Yes,
a couple
sure.
of cases
Yeah.
showing up in no time.
yeah, no doubt, no doubt. So I know you're very involved with, survey or geomatics internationally. Actually, a couple of the organizations that I'd like to hear a little bit more about because I'm unfamiliar with them. For example, I believe you're the Secretary General of the International Land Measurement Standards Coalition, also known as ILMSC. Tell us a little bit about that and what the goals and objectives are.
This is very interesting approach, and this is something that you guys in the States should come abroad. Actually, I guess NSPS is on board of this coalition, but I will explain you what it's about. This was, before was the IPMS, which is the International Property Measurement Coalition, Standard Coalition, which more focus on properties, on buildings, construction, and so on, offices, and so on. But then we wanted to do the same for the land, which is surrounded the property. But then we decided to make another coalition because the first one, property, was more for valuators, real estate agents, and so. And then we wanted to separate the idea to land professionals. And that's why we create the other coalition instead of merging into the first one. But then the ILMS is just to provide such a kind of due diligence report to permit in the emerging countries to create title in order to register, in order to have a mortgage, in order to develop economically. And then with the committee of experts all over the world, we created a standard which is focusing 8 key parameters what we have to look into. For example, the boundaries is the first one, the land value, also all the utilities which are in the property, the constructions, also the environment and the limitation of the land planning, which is around and inside, the access of any kind of not only utilities, also street and so on. And all these things together can make you realize that your land is able to have a title and then to register it. This is, at the beginning, was an idea for to African countries, some Latin American country, Asiatic countries. So, but within the time, I convinced myself pretty much that you can apply to the top countries. Nothing to do with the Germans, like I said before, or the Switzerland, or the Swiss. But I think in America also you could apply it in Canada as well, of course in Spain, because you have a lot of territory there, and then you have a lot for example, for the indigenous territories and so on, where you can really determine the best information, the best due diligence information in order to get it into the safety of the public. In this case, also, I must say that the creation of this coalition was in Rome, in Italy, in the building of, if I can remember it, because I say FAO, you know that?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Because this was also related to, of course, if the people can have a title of their own land, they can use it for the agriculture, and then the hunger will be step by step beaten. And then this was a little bit the aim of this coalition. Now the standard is finished. Now you can go to the website to ilmsc.org and you can download the standard. We are now doing the translation into different languages, Spanish, French, German, also is in Turkish, and I guess in Arabic as well, that you can apply it everywhere. And I really ask you guys that you take a look on this because it's a very interesting approach.
Yeah, absolutely. So you have representation from all over the world then in this organization?
Yes, there are, I guess, 50 countries, 50 members, around 30 countries all over the world. But, RSCS, for instance, is a member, but RSCS has offices all over the world, in Asia, in Africa, in America as well, and Europe. And then we cover all the world with this coalition. It's very interesting.
Yeah, no, you
And America as well.
definitely piqued my interest. I'm going to look into it further for sure. I mean, honestly, I had no idea that land measurement standards were so inconsistent, or in some cases not even existent. That's crazy.
Yes, but you have to think that the standard is not focused how to measure. It's focused how to report the measurement. And this is the point, because we have of a technical background. We like to take GPS, total station, even a tape, and trying to reach the millimeter. This is another thing. This is something that we have to act as a land professional, as somebody who gather all the information in a checklist. We check that everything is okay, the source of information, and then we make it reliable, that this can really be useful for someone, for example, to gain a title and to have a mortgage and then to develop. This is the big thing. I guess this is the biggest step for our profession, going from the technical point to the management point.
Yeah, that's a huge thing. I mean, now you gotta. Once you get that measurement standard approved and everything, next step, of course, is incorporating it into the practices, which is again that's a huge challenge, but it has to be done.
Yes, we are doing actually in Spain, and next November, we have our General Assembly. We will present in a seminar the adoption of this standard according to the Spanish laws, regulation, and so on. And we will be, I guess, the first ones to apply it professionally in Spain. That's why we are very proud of this, and we are really hopeful and grateful for that it has a good impact on our customers.
It's a huge step in the right direction. You mentioned utilities. I'm curious, are there good records of infrastructure as far as utilities go?
No. And actually, this is one of our projects of collaboration amongst the Professional Surveyors Canada and our association in Spain about the cadastral of the underground. This is also a project in a European level that for 10 years already, the equivalent of NSPS in America, in Europe, is called CLG, is the Council of the European Geodetic Surveyors. They are also developing the idea to try to make a cadastre of the underground, which is very important. For example, in the Netherlands, in Holland, they had major issues with the digging and with the gas pipelines, and then they have dead people and everything. And then they start to develop this kind. But this has to be harmonized because, as you know, the pipelines are going out of the bounds of the country and the countries. And then you need to have a common framework of regulation. And that's why we have the advantage of the European Union, which is similar to the union in the States or the union in Canada, but we are not a federal state. And then that's why we have to try to balance the situation. And that's why the CLG, which is the European Association of Surveyors, are trying to gather all the stakeholders in order to take this. In Spain, for example, we don't have anything. The utility companies are owners of all the infrastructure, and they have under top secret all this information. And then I think until it's not happening something really worse, which with some deaths, they will not wake up from this kind of disaster, because I am aware that this cannot be open data, because for security reasons, you cannot open the data where are the utilities laying down, but at least that should be something that certain professionals should be able to gather this information in order to, for the construction reasons, for example, be safely and be more precise than it is now. Now you dig and then you ask for a forgiveness, Then it's
That
not,
could be
it's not,
very dangerous.
yes, exactly.
It's amazing to me that here we are in 2020 with all the technology that we have, but yet we don't have records of these things. It's unbelievable.
This is, my opinion, is because the administration, the public government, are years behind.
Yeah.
We are in the 21st century, professionals, technology, but the administration is many, many years behind. They are like, 50 years behind because of economic resources in some countries at least, and because of mentality.
Yeah.
A public servant in Spain, for instance, when you apply for being a public servant, an officer, you are for life. You don't have to improve yourself. Your job, you will have it until you retire. Wow. And that's why this makes you not being so,
Mm-hmm.
And then this is the point that I guess is making us not going in different speed, the free market and the public administration. I guess this is the reason.
Wow. You mentioned partnering with our friends north of the border in Canada, and I just got to give a shout out to Michael Thompson because
Yes.
he's a mutual friend of ours, and he put us in contact. So
Exactly.
thanks to Michael for that.
Big time friend of the program.
Big time, yep.
Well, I guess when it comes to living in Spain and surveying there, clearly Kent and Jake, for that matter, have no experience. What are your biggest concerns? What are you most excited about for the future and the present?
Well, I guess the present is bright because we have many things to do. As I said before, the Germans has everything done. They are bored, and then at least we have this. Then I am a pathologic optimist guy, But on the other hand, for the future, I see that not only from the cadastral point of view, also for the GIS and all the geomatics, because we have in Spain we have a very rich country of resources. We need to put in value all of this, Government or companies or private companies have to work together to take advantage of this technology and the knowledge, because it's not only a matter of technology, it's knowledge and technology and an aim to do new things. That's why I feel. But on the other hand, I feel pessimistic because there are not enough surveyors, and also the youngsters are not keen to join our profession. Then it's something that we have to really, and we have to take away our, let's say, selfish point of view that, for example, I need maybe 15 or 20 years to retire, then I don't give a shit about this. No, I really give a shit about this. And I try to, if someone was coming behind me and is pushing, and then maybe in 100 years we got it, but then we have to start. If we never start, we never can get it. And then that's why in our small association, we have this vision, and we think that in a short or medium term, we can have really successful arrangements on this situation. But I remain saying that the cadastral industry in Spain is really, really interesting and is really open. The only thing is just to try to regulate it in a good way, and then we will have good jobs and a lot of income, not only for the surveyors, for the public, taxes, and also security for investors, which is the more important thing.
Yeah, no doubt. That's absolutely huge. And it's so amazing to me that again, everybody we talk to from all over the world has a lot of the same struggles that we do. You mentioned about, giving a shit. And unfortunately, the people that give a shit are in the minority of the profession versus the majority. And that's one of the concerning things. And we need to, get more on board. You mentioned, getting younger people involved in the profession. And it sounds like in Spain anyways, mentoring is so important to teach these younger surveyors how to do things correctly. Otherwise, if they don't have good mentors and they're working for these guys who aren't doing it at a professional level, that's just fueling the fire and not in a good way. As far as mentors go, you've been surveying for about 24 years, is my understanding. And your dad being a surveyor, I have to believe he was probably your main mentor. Is there anybody else you'd like to mention?
Well, actually, I like to tell this little story about my father, because my father, he learned the profession by another one. He didn't have the chance to go to get a academic training. And then he has lack of training. And then when he could manage to transmit his love for the profession, and finally I decided to go in the university, to the college, to learn surveying. I wanted to be informatic, firstly, I must say, but then I changed my mind. He always said, please pay attention in the classroom and get to know how to determine the boundaries, And then I said, okay. I mean, I was 18 years old. I don't care what my father is telling me. But within the time, I realized what he meant. All the problems related to the boundary issues, he couldn't mentor me on this way. He mentored me on the commercial way. He mentored me on the technical and professional way and such kind of stuff, but not for this. And then that's why I started to focus on this. And then I can say that his engagement provoked that I am also engaged on this. And I have to say that as premier news, I trying to engage my nephew to go in the profession. They would be the third generation of surveyors. I'm trying. He's 16 years old yet, but I'm trying to get him into the surveying, that he can continue the family surveying line. And yes, of course, I'm already mentoring him and teaching him everything in the other way of my father did to me. And I think this could be an opportunity. And another mentors, I would say that unfortunately not in the surveying profession. I have learned a lot from lawyers and from this kind of real estate agents and the real estate market, more than from surveyors. Then this is something that makes me think that, as you said before, there's a minority who really engage and the majority who really don't give a shit.
Yep. Unfortunately, that's true.
Yes.
Well, I think his nephew just needs to listen to the Geoholics, and then he'll be a surveyor in no time. That's my personal opinion, of course. But I don't know how much you listen to our show, Pedro, but we have this one that we ask all our guests, and I hope you're prepared. But do you have a mantra that you live by?
Yes. Well, I have in my Twitter feed, I have the pinned tweet, if you can check it. It's saying something that resumes my vision of life, which is the experience is the name we give to our mistakes. And then you have to mistake if you want to gather experience and if you want to improve.
Yep.
If you don't even, if you are too conservative, not making mistakes, you will not advance in your professional and personal life. And then this will be my mantra.
Yeah.
And this, I guess, this was a quote by Oscar Wilde, I think, the famous writer. Then I think it's something that fits with me perfectly.
Yep. Yeah, it's very true. And, putting yourself outside your comfort zone.
Well, and then, okay, so to follow up, I know we have this question. I know we keep it as a backup of all the fun. And I have my answer for the second part of it. But what would your autobiography be called? That's the number one. And then number two, who would play you in the movie? I'm going to go out on a limb and say Gene Hackman. Like Hoosiers, Gene Hackman. Yeah. Get a little Spanish accent. We're good to go.
Yeah.
Well, these questions, if I'm honest, I don't have a clear answer for this. But I have to tell you that, for instance, a good friend of mine, which is Now he's politician, I have to say, but before he was book writer. Okay, he wrote a book and he put me in. He wrote 2 books and he put me in both books as a land surveyor.
Wow!
And in the second one, the late one, is about such a kind of crimes and so on related to the area we live. And I have a key role because I was part. I'm a little bit telling the story now, but anyway, I am the key for the criminals to steal land, because I was producing ad hoc reports in order to register stealed land and so on. Then this could be, of course, would not be my autobiography, but this is something funny that I wanted to tell you about. But related to the movie, I think because there are some surveyors, actors, I don't know if you know that, and I mean Spanish ones also, and also we have how you say this? Now I don't get the name, but anyway, doesn't matter. But I would say Arnold Schwarzenegger would be the role in my movie, definitely. He will be back.
Yeah, that's so funny. Yeah, what's the name of that book, by the way?
Costa California. It's a mix because the area I live is Costa del Sol, the sun coast. Yeah. Okay, Costa del Sol, and then it's Costa California, like California.
Oh, okay.
Because it's such a kind of criminal and mafia and such a kind of and then it's trying to mix the situation here with the Californian movie typical,
Yeah, we'll have to check it out for sure. So Pedro, we could talk to you for hours. Unfortunately, our time is up this morning.
I have to go back to bed.
Yes.
Yeah, we first of all, I don't want you to forget that you invited us to stay at your house.
Yes. He's going to send you wine. We're going to Spain.
Yeah. So, is there anything else maybe we haven't touched on that you want to make sure you get out there? And you trust me, we would love to have you back again. But is there anything right now that comes to mind that you want to make sure that you tell the folks?
No, really, I guess we touch a lot of topics, and yes, as you said, we could be here talking by hours. I mean, my wife always tells me that I could be talking for hours, and I don't even need to breathe like the sun we said before.
Yeah.
But the only thing I want to say is that I am very happy that you could having me today here to share, because it's very important that we share knowledge, information, and why not also experience. And also, I'm very excited that my basketball idol, which is Ricky Rubio playing Phoenix Suns, is going ahead. And I'm pretty excited that we can reach the playoff final, and the play-in, and then the playoffs. And then that's why I have in mind Arizona, your homeland now.
Yep.
And I look forward to keep in touch in LinkedIn or in other places. And I will, of course, recommend your podcast and your YouTube channel to all my friends. Unfortunately, I don't have many friends who can understand or speak English, but they can try. And I really give you a lot of credit for what you're doing in this program, in this podcast.
It is greatly appreciated. We got to hit the SAP button.
Yeah.
For Pedro's buddies.
Yeah, right. Yeah, well, we thank you for being here, and thank you for those kind words, and we'll definitely keep in touch. We're going to have a roundtable discussion here in a couple months about coordinate cadastre. So I think you'd be great to be on that panel if you're interested.
Of course, sure. This is my favorite topic.
Awesome. That's perfect. All right. Anything else, guys?
I think we wrapped this one up.
All right. Fantastic. Another great episode with amazing content. So thank you again, Pedro. All right. Check us out at thegeoholics.com. Follow us on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn by searching for The Geoholics. Download all our podcasts on Apple Podcasts, Podbean, Stitcher, Spotify, and the app from Land Surveyors United. Email us at info@thegeoholics.com if you're interested in being a friend of the program or a guest on a future show. Prodigy, Breathe, available everywhere, especially at Ravers. Please support our friends of the program every chance you get. Pay it forward, add value, make friends. Until next time, Be safe and healthy, everyone. Thank you to our friends of the program, Land Surveyors United, landsurveyorsunited.com, Parkland College Land Survey Program, parkland.edu/surveying, Unifly, UNIFLI.arrow, Bad Elf, bad-elf.com, Advanced Geodetic Survey, agsgps.com, Safety Apparel, safetyapparel.us, Diamondback Land Surveying, dbackls.com, Get Kids Into Survey, getkidsintosurvey.com.